Hello, level one. How are you? Is everybody okay? Thank you for tuning in. Today we're going to look at something different. So far we've been looking at reading exams, and that's very important, but we also remember we have a speaking and listening exam coming. So we're going to talk today a little bit about speaking and listening exams. Okay. The NOCN Speaking and Listening exam. I'm going to send you a copy of the example. This is not the real exam. This is a practice exam. Okay. And the exam has 3 different parts. Okay, let's talk about that. Okay. First of all, what is the exam and what do you have to do? Well, we're going to have the exam in March. We'd like you to come to the college. We're going to practice the exam and then on the 8th of March. And then after that, the next couple of weeks, we'd like you to do the exam. Remember, the exam is taken with me and with 2 or 3 other students, okay? And there are different parts of the exam, and we'd really like you to understand it. The first one is called Task 1. And Task 1 is listening. That means that I read you something, and then you write down a multiple choice. So this is called, well, we just say listening. Okay, so for example, in this one, you have some questions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you have an answer that you need to reply. So what you need to do is you need to answer the question A, B, C, D, like that. Okay, so it's multiple choice. Okay, second task we're looking at is task 2. Okay, in task 2, we have a presentation. So the presentation can last up to 10 to 15 minutes. And what happens is you have to give a presentation on a topic. After you give the presentation, your partners you should answer 6 questions. So if you give a presentation to the class explaining something on a topic, then if you have 3 people, each one can ask 2 questions. Okay? So you have to answer 6 questions on that topic. Okay? You can write notes if you want. You can prepare yourself. I will give you the topic in advance to help you prepare. You can write down what you want to say, but what you cannot do is read straight from your notes. You need to speak to them. Okay? Look them in the eye and speak and give your presentation. Final task is task 3. And in task 3 is what's called a discussion. Now, in a discussion, you will take a part of it in a discussion between 3 to 5 people. You will discuss a topic and you will ask and answer questions about this topic. You must give your views and opinions on this topic, and you must ask at least 3 questions. So we sit together and we talk about a topic, and we're going to all do that. And this is not a presentation. This one is you're speaking, your partner is speaking, you're listening, your partner is listening, and so on. Right. And that can last a long time, up to 40 minutes. We don't need that much time. So probably 10, 15 minutes would be enough to talk about the topic. Okay. Right. So there you have it. That is the speaking and listening exam, the basic format. I will be sending out a practice exam for you to look at. Okay. And it looks like this. And I will send this out along with this video. And then next time we can go through the whole thing. Okay. Let's talk today about presentations. And I would like you, for example, to watch my presentation about presentations. Some of you already have done some work, and we will be talking about presentations in 1 second. Okay, as part of your homework, I gave you this. It's called My Cause for Concern, okay? This is what I call a model presentation. This is a very good presentation. It has an introduction, it has the main points, and it also has a conclusion. Remember how we did the writing? We had to do that. We had to talk about a main point. We had to talk about different points of view, and then we had to do a conclusion. Well, the speaking is quite similar. It's not much different. Let's have a listen to her, my cause for concern, and then we're going to answer the questions about this. Okay. So, my cause for concern. The thing that I'm most concerned about at the moment is the influence that video games may have on children. Let me explain why. I've been reading a lot of newspaper articles on the subject, and also I have a personal interest. You see, I have a younger brother, Craig. He's 13 years old, and I'm afraid he's becoming a video game addict. Just a few years ago, Craig had many interests. He played football, he was learning judo, he went on his bike with his friends. He was a happy, fun-loving boy. Now he spends hours every day in front of a screen, in a virtual world, playing virtual games, usually violent ones, and he becomes really angry if our parents tell him to stop. Research shows today 40% of family homes have computers, so there is plenty of opportunity for young children to start using them. And by the age of 7, many have developed an interest in video games. This is not a problem for most of them. However, by their early teens, a small minority have become addicts, playing for at least 30 hours a week. Dr. Mark Griffith of Nottingham Trent University, an expert in video game addiction, finds this figure very worrying. He says that children may become so addicted that they stop doing their homework, start playing truant, and even steal money in order to buy the games. I have 2 more concerns. Firstly, I worry that the violence in the games could cause children to become more violent. My brother isn't violent, but he is certainly bad-tempered if he has stopped from playing. Secondly, I worry that sitting without exercise for long is bad for the health. Craig often plays 5 hours a day, and some days his thumbs are really painful and he can't sleep because he is overexcited. His schoolwork is going from bad to worse. Finally, Dr. Griffith says that more research is needed, but I don't need more research to conclude that video games cause problems. He should come and meet my brother. That's all the evidence he needs. Okay, so what we have here is very well structured. You're writing presentation. Okay, it begins with an introduction. The thing I'm concerned about at the moment is the influence of video games have on my children. It also uses research, talks about research. It talks about, she does it as a personal, it's a personal essay. It doesn't have to be personal, but it is personal in this case. And finally, she lists her concerns. And she uses a lot of words that you need to know, like firstly, secondly, finally, my conclusion. This kind of thing is very useful. It's well structured. Okay, so let's look at the questions that I asked you to answer. I asked you to read this and answer these. So let's have a look at your answers. The first question was, what is her cause for concern? And so the best answer I would say is, she's concerned about the influence of video games may have on children. So that's the good answer for number 1. She's interested in the influences, negative influences video games have on children. Okay. Number 2, the question is, why does she have a personal interest? Well, she has a personal interest because she has a younger brother who is addicted to video games. That's right. So it's different ways you can, basically her brother is becoming a video game addict. Maybe he's not completely there, but that's basically the correct answer there. Because she has a younger brother who is addicted to video games. Okay, it's starting to be. Number 3. How did Craig used to be? Well, he was a happy, fun-loving boy. He played football. Okay, he played football. He was learning judo. So as you can see, all of these things are quite positive. He was happy, he was fun-loving, and also he had physical interests that would help his body, such as football and learning judo. Not only his body, but also socially. It's very important for children to develop socially, to work with other children. And of course, you know, it's not the same as when you're on a video game fighting. So these football, judo, they're both healthy, they teach discipline, and also they help you socialize with other children and with people in general. So yeah, it's a shame that he's changed. Number 4, the question is, what does research tell us about the addiction? Well, what research tells us is by the age of 7, okay, that's 7 years old, many children who have computers have developed an interest. In video games. Okay, so by the age of 7, many children, sorry about the glare, you see that, okay? Many children have developed an interest in video games. That's the first thing that it tells you. It also tells you something more worrying, okay? It tells you that by their early teens, and this is the real answer, by the early teens, a small minority have become addicts. Addicts, yeah. And they play 30 minutes, 30 hours. 30 hours a week. Okay, I don't know if you can see all of that. I'm just going to move the camera a little bit. Okay, so the answer there is it should be by their early teens. Okay, by their early teens, a small minority have become addicts, video game addicts, and they are playing these video games up to 30 hours a week, and that's way too much. Okay, moving on to number 6. Number 6 says, question is, what concerns Dr. Griffith? Remember, this is Dr. Griffith, not the woman who's giving the presentation. And the best answer is, children may become so addicted that they stop doing their homework, they start playing truant. Now, playing truant means not going to school. And they even steal money to buy the video games. Now, these are all 3 terrible things. Stop doing the homework, start playing truant. Again, that means not going to school, and even steal money to buy the video games. Okay, so that's the answer for number 6. All very bad things. I'm sure none of your children are that addicted to video games. I hope my son never gets that addicted. My God. Number 7. The question was, what does she worry about? And the thing is that she worries that violence in the games could cause children to become more violent, okay? She worries that the games could make children more violent. And the second thing that she worries about is, she worries that sitting for long hours is bad for the health. Okay, so those are 2 things that she's worried about. Obviously, both important. First thing is they make the children more violent. and aggressive. And the second one is that sitting for so long is bad for your health. I totally agree. Okay, welcome back. Now we're going to talk about each paragraph. Okay. The question says, read the talk carefully and answer the questions. Underline the phrases that introduce each paragraph. Why are these phrases used? Okay. So the first one, for example, says, the thing I'm most concerned about, right? Why is it used? Because she's introducing the topic. You could say, I'm going to talk about video game addiction. Or you can say, the thing I'm going to talk about today is video games. Any introduction is the same as when we are writing. We use words to introduce. When we're writing a letter, we say, I'm writing today about. But when we are speaking, we could say, I'm speaking today about. Or we might actually start with something like this. The thing I'm concerned about is, and you give your topic sentence. Okay. The other paragraphs, let me explain why. It introduces you to the explanation. Research shows, again, she's backing it up with research, very good. I have two more concerns, okay? So she's telling you exactly how many concerns she has. And then the last paragraph, as you can see, uses the word finally, okay? Can you see that? Okay, finally, sorry. All right, finally. So finally is used as the final paragraph. Again, that's a very good idea to use these linking words. Same ones we use in writing, okay? We're just applying them again. But this time we're applying them to speaking. Right, okay. Other questions, it says, find examples of the speaker talking from her own experience, okay? When did she talk about her own experience? Well, she talks about her own experience. She says she's been reading lots of newspapers on the subject. Okay, that's her own experience. And she says her brother often plays 5 times a day. Now, it's often used that you use your own life as an example. But remember, you are not talking about just you. You are talking about all children and all video game addiction. So she uses her life as an example. She says she's been reading lots of articles on the subject. She says her brother often plays 5 hours a day and his thumbs are very painful and he can't sleep because he's overexcited. His schoolwork is going from bad to worse. That is her own personal example of her own life. Remember, but you are not just talking about one child. You are talking about all children when you write or when you speak on a topic. Okay? But you're just using your life as an example. Find examples where she quotes research. Well, she quotes research in, I think, paragraph 3. She says, today only 40% of family homes have computers. Okay. So that's an example of quoting research. She also mentions Mark Griffith and says, children may become so addicted in all of this. So to use as examples, and that's good because you have some time to do some research for your presentation. How does find an example where she uses quotes in research. No, she does quote research. Number 4, how does the girl conclude her talk? Well, she concludes by saying this. She says, finally, Dr. Griffith says more research is needed, but I don't need more research to conclude that video games cause problems. He should come and meet my brother. That's all the evidence he needs. So she talks about concluding, and she uses finally, and it's quite a clever way she ends it. You don't have to be so clever. You could just say, in conclusion, my opinion is that video games should only be played 1 hour a day, something like that, some kind of conclusion. And right, and we're now talking about preparing your talk, okay? And just 1 second, I'm going to talk about that. Okay, finally we're going to talk about preparing your talk and structuring your talk. You will have to give a talk on a topic, and I think the topic will be social media, and I will give you the presentation in this email, okay? But first, let's have a look at some words you could use when giving your presentation. Okay. First one is you have to introduce your topic. That means you have to tell your listeners you are talking about it for the first time. For example, my cause for concern is. Now, if you're talking about something that you're not worried about, you might not want to say my cause for concern. But you could always say, I want to talk about, or today I'm going to talk today, or today I'm going to talk about social media. Or do you have Facebook? Do you have Instagram? Today the topic is social media. Something like that could be your topic. Or these days, so many of us are addicted to their mobile phones. Introduces the topic. If you had a different topic, maybe you wanted to talk about the coronavirus. Maybe you don't want to talk about the coronavirus. Forget about the coronavirus. Don't worry, you don't have to talk about it. Or maybe you wanted to talk about learning English. You could say, English is an international language, and as we all know, it helps us to communicate in, that kind of thing. So why did I learn English? Anything like that. Starting a new topic. Okay. You can do it in many different ways. Number 2, give the reason why. Give some explanation. Back your statement up with some evidence. For example, let me explain why. Blah, 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 blah. 2 years ago, la la la. So she's giving her personal. You could also use the expression for example, or any example like that. But you have to give the reason why you said what you said. Number 3, if you want to talk about that, you can list your research. Okay, I'm gonna close the blinds again a little bit. See if you can see that. Let me explain why. List your research. Research shows a recent study found. Remember, if you're going to use things that you learn on the internet, you have to give your source. Where did you learn that? Did you learn it on the BBC website? Did you get it from a different website? Where's your information coming from? That's what they want to know. So that's a good way of doing it. Research shows a recent study found. And if it's from Newcastle University, say Newcastle University. If it's from your country, say it's from your country. And finally, introduce new points by using these words. Firstly, secondly, and at the end, finally. When you give your opinion, when you give your final opinion at the very end, don't be afraid to say, in conclusion, I feel that, or in my opinion. So let's imagine we are going to ask the question about should we stop Facebook, or is social media bad? Now it's one of those things where it's good and it's bad, So you might want to say, in my opinion, if you can manage it and if you are sensible, social media can be a good thing. You can reach a lot of people very quickly. Or if you're very negative, you might say, in my opinion, even though it has some positive, social media is in general a bad thing. It creates a lot of problems. It spreads misinformation like that. So that's what you can do. And then your final, at the very end, when you finish your talk, don't forget to say, thank you very much. And do you have any questions? Okay. Now, this is the end of this talk. I'm going to send you a topic for presentation, and I would like you to do your best to do a presentation for me. Now, you can make a video of yourself, and that's too difficult. You can call me on your phone and read your presentation to me after half term, okay? So, good luck to all of you, and I will see you after half term. Bye-bye.